In a game development company, Utsuka had been working with his colleagues. One day, while working on a game, he thought that life was all about saving energy, and facing the conflicts of relationships was such tiring work. Overworking was so hard because it was unpleasant and exhausting. This was all Utsuka's experience working there for 2 years. One day, he thought to get back home early, but he received an urgent task, realizing he didn't have to make any plans for the evening either. He remembered that his favorite drama episode was airing that day, which he would miss. Just then, he received some notifications from his group where others were discussing that drama. Utsuka thought that working and socializing were both good here, but within certain limits. He had to prioritize his time as well. It was the life he was living, and he was likely to be attracted to people who lived their own lives earnestly. Just then, his colleague Sayot approached him and asked about the data they sent to Company B. Utsuka replied that since it was due next week, he hadn't started it yet. She understood and said that she had something she wanted to check that day, so she thought she would submit that as well. Then she asked if he would take care of it. As Utsuka wondered about that, she told him not to worry and to take it as a personal favor. Someone called Sayot and asked about the August update. She replied that it was already fixed. The person commented that she did that very fast. She revealed that she had already collected the materials for the new project presentation, so she asked them to review it. They commented that she did all the work so fast. Sayot then told Utsuka that she had to be in a meeting, so she asked him to take care of the data. He agreed and thought that she was totally of the opposite mindset of Utsuke. She was only in her 5th year working there, but she was at the post of the lead art director, and with such talent, she was also so fast. The people with such drive were amazing. But Utsuka considered drive as a talent as well, because he didn't have any. A boy approached Otsuka and asked if he was free at that time. As Utsuka looked at the boy said that since Hayase left the office early, could Utsuke help the boy with his task? The boy believed that Otsuka would be able to do it. Utsuka looked at the time and thought that he would miss his favorite drama of the day, but it had also been getting boring lately. Also, a new game named Gerda was releasing the next day, with a prize of 7,700 yen. Utsuka's pocket was already running low because he had already bought 2 games that month, so he wondered how to earn more money. Then he agreed to help the boy with his task. As Utsuka started working, he realized that it was more than he expected, and there was no one in the company except him. He could find another way to make more money for Gerda. After completing the work, as he was going back home, he saw Sayot there and wondered if he should greet her. As he greeted her, he saw that she was crying, and then she noticed him and became scared, causing her to fall from her chair. He hurried over to her and asked if she was fine. She looked at him and asked him to kill her. She began searching for something on her desk to harm herself and found a pair of scissors there. Utsuka stopped her and told her to think again before doing that and to calm down for a bit. She refused and said that she had been crying and drinking beer at her desk, and he must think that she should die. He replied that he wasn't thinking anything like that. She thanked him for being there until then, and then said goodbye. He asked if she was listening to him. She said that it was so hard, and she was trying her best, but her image was ruined, and she felt she should die. Utsuka asked her if something had happened to her. She replied that there was, but if she told him, he might be put off. He tried to assure her that he couldn't be put off. She agreed, and then she told him that until the day before, a boy had been saying that he loved her, but suddenly he broke up with her while she was at work. He told her that he had fallen in love with someone else. Sayot had tried hard to cook food for him and had even bought him a credit card. She was shocked that she couldn't focus on the words and couldn't say anything since she was in the middle of a meeting. She was showing such a gross side of herself to Utsuka, and that day was so awful she felt like she was cursed or something. She screamed so loud. Utsuka thought that it wasn't easy. She said that love was the one thing she cared a lot about and that she was going to do her best from there. Utsuka, while having a drink, asked her if she loved that boy a lot. She agreed and said that she didn't want to go to work for 6 months, and then she apologized to him and said that he would feel like she was disgusting and she was all over the place like that. He replied that it was unexpected. She said that she thought of herself as a wreck and that she was disgusting and caused trouble for others. So after that, she decided to become a proper adult and show everyone her good side, and by doing that, no one would hate her. But in the end, lies were found out one way or another, and even her ex knew deep down that's why she was unlovable. She started sniffing again. He wondered what they were talking about again, and then he said that she was amazing. She was an art director, and despite being so busy, she was still serious about her love life. Thinking about that, he felt she was so amazing. She denied it and said that it was just she had a love-focused mindset. He replied that even if that's true, he still felt she was amazing for being so passionate about her love and work. He was so busy as it was his daily life and hobbies, but she didn't stop at the world, and he wondered how she was able to manage all of that. She said that maybe that's because she had a boyfriend and worked in front of her. Utsuka asked what she was saying and if she was an overachiever. She asked him if he was trying to make her feel better. He denied it and said that it wasn't his intention, but he genuinely thought she was amazing. However, he acknowledged that it wasn't the right time to say such things and apologized for it. She got tears in her eyes, wiped them away, and said she was glad to hear that. He commented that it was good. Then she stared at him, so he asked about the matter. She suggested that if he would be fine with it, they should have a drink together. He replied that if it was just once in a while, he'd be okay with it. She then suggested they should be friends. He wondered about being friends. She said that they should drink, play together, and share their problems, like a relationship where they could be themselves, not defined by gender, but as good friends. He mentioned that he was her junior. She replied that it wasn't a problem. He suggested that she should be friends with her colleagues. She replied that her colleagues had formed a group in which her ex was also included. Utsuka then asked about the women. She explained that she ended up being disliked by them. When Utsuka asked about the men, she mentioned that they quickly started acting strange around her. However, she didn't see Utsuka as a man. She felt like he was neutral, and she believed they could become friends. She expressed her desire to be friends with him. Utsuka hesitated, thinking about making new friends at the age of 23 and how that might disrupt his carefully planned life. But he acknowledged that she was a good person who put her heart into everything. Sayot fell silent for a while and then said that it was too sudden and really creepy, so they should forget about it. He replied that it was fine to be friends, which made her very happy. Utsuka thought that she was drunk, and their friendship began from there. The next day, as they were working, they didn't share any contact. Utsuka thought that she might forget all those things because she was drunk at the time, and that was good for him. However, Sayot came and gave him the reference material for the character she was working on at that time. As he took it, he thanked her and noticed her smiling face. He realized that they were truly friends. Utsuka was having noodles in the cafeteria with a friend when the friend asked if Utsuka was interested in getting a girlfriend. Utsuka denied it, and the friend was shocked, saying that Utsuka was the only one among the newbies who didn't have a girlfriend and that he was missing out on life. Utsuka thought for a moment and said that romance was boring to him. He didn't like having too many worries, and romance left him with no time for himself. He also mentioned that he didn't know any good women who were interested in him. The friend suggested that he should just find a talkative girlfriend because they were great at making people happy and comfortable, and then he started giving a lecture on girls. Utsuka ignored him, thinking that he didn't need a girlfriend. He was satisfied with his hobbies and some friends. At work, Sayot came and said that she had come back from the 2D checking, so Utsuka should check the UI next, and she would be going to attend the regular meeting. She asked Utsuka to send her the finished build for review. He thought that she had started working hard again. He then asked Sayot if she could also check the banner, which featured a Haru badge from Sawtooth Man, and he asked if she was a fan. She explained that she believed anime could be an inspiration for games, so she made an effort to research trending anime. She clarified that she wasn't like them, referring to other colleagues, and she just wanted to understand how they made characters profitable since games were a character-centric business model. She mentioned she received that badge during her research and wore it for fun. A colleague commented that it suited Sayot well and that being so driven might lead to a raise. Sayot responded that she wanted to marry Haru. While having a drink with Utsuka, she asked him if he had watched the 4th episode and how amazing it was. She mentioned that Utsuka looked like the cool type, but he wasn't, and she loved him a lot. She complimented his great face, way of speaking, and deep voice. Utsuka thought that she had done deep research. Then he asked her if she liked the cool types. She agreed and said that she could only fall for 2D men. Utsuka thought that she just suddenly brought it up, and then he mentioned that Sawtooth Man was pretty good and that he liked the battle scenes as well. Sayot became happy to hear this and said that she understood what he was talking about, mentioning that it was mega stylish, which made her happy that Utsuka watched it too. Utsuka replied that he was also reading the manga. She exclaimed and said that maybe she should try reading it as well. Utsuka added that the new story arc was very interesting. Afterwards, they thought of going to a cafe. A man welcomed them and asked what kind of room they wanted. Sayot said that she wanted the wine room where she could lie down and relax. Utsuka commented that it sounded nice. The man mentioned that it would be a pair room and asked if that was fine. She agreed and asked Utsuka if that room was the cheaper option. They took the key and searched for room number 7. Upon finding it, they entered, and Utsuka commented that the room was bigger than he had expected. Sao suggested they go in, but then she slipped and remarked that if only their office had a nap time area like that. Utsuka sat down and started reading a book. Sao approached him and asked what he was watching, which surprised him. She quickly apologized and mentioned that the art was really good. Utsuka commented that it had a pretty retro style. Sao agreed, saying that it was very emotional and she liked such things. She shared that she was into intense plots and maybe some old shoujo manga as well. Utsuka mentioned that he also watched old stuff due to his parents' influence and found it enjoyable. Sao was happy to hear that and suggested that they should drop by a manga cafe after work and talk about the manga they liked, and it would make him feel super young again. She seemed excited about the idea. Utsuka agreed that it sounded good to her. Sao then mentioned that she was planning to read a lot of books that day. She then lay down to read the books, changing her positions frequently. After a while, she put her hand on him. He asked what happened, noticing that she was crying because Haru, the character, had died, and she hadn't heard about it. He replied that it was a part of the story which was so interesting. She was surprised and asked what was interesting about it. Did he mean a man dying? Haru was working so hard for everyone, so why would something terrible like that happen? And the author was too cruel. Utsuka told her to keep it down and praised her level of empathy. She mentioned that it hurt reading through those scenes, and she usually tried not to cry about those things, but it wasn't embarrassing for someone who was almost 30. She wondered if it was weird for someone nearing 30 to be so emotionally invested in fictional characters. Utsuka replied that it wasn't really weird and that it was fine to enjoy things, however one may, especially between friends. She then nibbled on his hand and he asked for the reason. She said that it was creepy coming from an adult. He replied that he guessed so. She asked to hear her and was fine if she called him by his first name and she meant that they were friends. He simply denied that and said that no one called him by that name. His parents and he called each other by their last names, while her family called him Oni, so could she call her Utsu? But she still called him by his first name continuously. He said that Utsu was fine, she denied it, and said that Rihito was better. Then he said that she got way too chummy with people. She replied that she got that and she forgot that she had been told she was an annoying kid that no one liked growing up. He said that it wasn't like that. She, being emotional, continued that she liked her friends a lot, that she became super clingy, and that was gross, and then she told about a lot of things. Utsuka said to her that talking about cutting ties was too hasty, so she shouldn't jump to conclusions on her own. She asked if they were still friends. He agreed, and then she asked if it was fine to call him by his first name. By stating that, she gloomed. He then agreed with that and asked if it mattered to her that much. She agreed and asked if she wasn't special to him. She seemed somewhat weird, so Utsuka said that he would call her like that as well. She made a weird face and he inquired about it, asking if that made things fair. She still acted weird and said that it sounded bossy. He suggested 2 more options, but she still acted like that. He questioned if she didn't like them. She replied that she didn't hate them. Utsuka said that senpai would be fine now. She commented that his voice was deep. He replied that he got that a lot. She still turned her face from him and said that it was enough first name for that day. Since they exchanged their contacts, his time got blown away daily. In reality, he wasn't good at that, and he worried if his messages were too impolite or if he came across as creepy, so he would just send a sticker to be safe. As he wanted to watch the movie, he turned off the notification bell for Reen, but she continued to send him lots of messages on Reen. The next day she told him that she was checking the ad. He replied that all the models were good to go. She thanked him for that, and after looking at the work, she said that the colors needed a bit more saturation and leaning towards the blue. She then upgraded some things as well and said that it was all she had to nitpick, and the rest was already good. He thanked her and thought that it was as expected from her impeccable eye for detail. She asked if he had a few minutes. As he agreed, she asked if he had checked his Rhine. He realized that and said that he was watching the movie the previous day. She asked if that was so and if it was fun to watch. He agreed and apologized to her. She replied that it was fine, so not to worry, and she apologized for disturbing him. As she left from there, he checked and saw that it was 96 Rhine, and then he apologized to her for not being good with messaging. She just replied that it was fine, and then she apologized to him. Utsuka thought that he responded quickly to voice calls. She asked him to call at night. The scene shifted to night, and as he was sitting in his room, he wondered what exactly they were going to talk about. He did kind of suggest that, but he would go with the flow. She then called him, and as he picked up, she said that it was Sayat, and then asked if it was fine to call at that time. As he agreed, she said that she had moved recently and couldn't hang out as much because of that. She was usually in work mode at the office, so she apologized for being so clingy, mentioning that she got lonely at home. He asked if he was her only friend. She agreed and said that if he were to disappear, she would be depressed again. When he ghosted her one time, she thought that he hated her, and that hurt her a lot. Utsuka replied not to worry and mentioned that he wasn't the type to cut ties so easily, so she was worrying too much. He asked if that was for real, and then she asked him to pamper her more. Utsuka asked if it was fine if he did that only when he was free. She said to do that all the time, and since they were friends, she wanted to chat more often and talk on calls. He said that he didn't want that, and that he liked his alone time. She asked how he could like being alone, expressing that she hated it so much that she cried herself to sleep, and maybe she was the weird one and everyone else was brave. Utsuka said that introverts and extroverts had different ways of relieving stress. For example, he loved watching movies alone as he found that relaxing. She commented that it kind of sucked, wondering why he didn't want to talk about his thoughts on the movies he had watched and hear different points of view, which would let her discover things she wouldn't have on her own, and was that what she would like to think. He agreed with that, and then she asked if he wanted to watch a movie together with her. He agreed to that. She suggested that she wanted to see a romance movie. He thought that she changed gears so fast. She continued that the drama which he recommended, combining horror, was great, and because of that, he could handle scary movies, but she might cry. He asked if that was so, and he decided to follow her advice and try that out. She became happy and said that she wanted to watch that romantic movie with him, expressing her happiness. After she broke up with her boyfriend, she thought that she would die of loneliness, but then they became friends. And because of that, she didn't feel lonely at all. He said that he was glad to hear that. She replied that there would be no more ghosting on Rhine. She said that he knew she didn't like that, and he just turned on his camera. They got on the video call and talked about her drama. Just as she realized her situation, she abruptly hung up the call. She then apologized for all that and asked him not to be disgusted. He thought that it was just for a while, so he wasn't able to see anything, and he wondered why she would be like that. She thought that she messed up again, and then she texted him to call again later. The next day, Utsuka was at work. Sot came and talked about the plan for their movie. He asked if there had been a movie she wanted to watch. She then showed someone and said Yang Ren had been her turn and that stars Okazaki from Adoko Boys. He replied that it looked like a movie aimed at middle schoolers. She stated that they needed to incorporate what appeals to younger people, otherwise creators would be left behind. Utsuka thought it was a good opportunity. She requested that he be the only one and that it be full of couples, and she would stand out like a sore thumb. He thought she didn't have any real friends. Then he asked if she wanted to go to the latest showing. She got happy and said that she would like to talk about it after watching it, so let's plan that for the weekend. He said not to expect much from an introvert. On Saturday, Utsuka was standing when Saot came to him and apologized for taking a while to get ready. He denied it and said that it wasn't time to meet up yet, so it was okay. He looked at her dress and noticed something different about her. She became happy that he noticed and then said that since there seemed to be a lot of school students, she tried to dress up like the younger ones so she wouldn't stand out. He asked if she was trying to fit in with those students. She replied that she was looking forward to the movie. Utsuka said that it was his first time watching any romance movie. She asked if that was for real and mentioned that the visuals in those days' films were stunning, and the script was good too, so she was sure it would give him great input. They worked in a game development company, and he had to absorb knowledge from different sources. He replied that he guessed so. Scott was excited to see Okazaki's lovey-dovey scenes, and then they got to watch the movie. Utsuka thought that the movie was so good. He watched the movie and wondered if girls liked the commanding tones and if someone was feeling that. He then saw Saot was crying. She said that Utsuka finally said that. He thought that she was the type to speak to herself, and her level of empathy was impressive, as always. Then he saw her clapping. After the movie, they got something to eat, and there Saot said that she wanted a boyfriend like Ren. Utsuka asked if that was the first thing she said after watching the movie. She replied that it was because she was jealous and wondered why, when they saw a handsome boy in real life, they wanted to fall in love. Utsuka asked if Ren was such a great person. She agreed and said that it was because he was so cool. Utsuka said that Ren's attitude was cold, he was sharp-tongued, and he was forceful in giving orders. She asked if that made his heart race and if girls were weak for those types of men. Utsuka thought it was what got them caught up with bad men. She then said that she wanted those Kyun moments. Utsuka asked what exactly she meant by Kyun. He had heard that a lot, but he didn't understand it. She then explained that when they think about the person they like, their hearts feel Kyun, and it's painful but also feels fluffy and happy, like bittersweet feelings. That's kind of what they feel during those Kyun moments. Utsuka said it was like when dopamine was released. She replied that it was something like that. Then Utsuka asked her if she had any weird desires. She got embarrassed to hear that and said that admitting that would make her seem like a pervert. Utsuka said that wasn't so bad and that, at the end of the day, humans were the same as animals. She asked if he wouldn't deny that. He said all those things, but she bet he read lewd mangas as well. He replied that he didn't read any. She shouted to end that conversation and suggested talking about the movie. Then she commented that the characters were so good and she started talking about Ren a lot. Utsuka thought that she was starting again, and then he mentioned that in games, the user count for women was low, so having a handsome character would make sense. She replied that she understood that, and they should really create a drop-dead handsome character, and now she wanted that Kyun feeling. Then she announced that she wasn't a pervert and wasn't lewd. He replied that he understood. She continued that, even though he said such things, she bet he was thinking something along those lines. He told her that her voice was too loud. She lowered her face and said that she was an obsessive 2D loving perverted woman, and she bet he didn't want to be her friend anymore. He commented that being obsessive was a good thing and proved they were passionate about that thing, and he thought it was charming. She questioned if he thought like that, so maybe she should be more obsessive. He thought her mood swings were sudden. As Utsuka was working in his office, Saot came to him and said that it was already 8 o'clock, so let's go have a drink. But Utsuka didn't reply, so she asked what happened with his reaction and if he didn't want to go for a drink with her. He replied that it wasn't like that. He was stuck on a model. As she looked at the model, she commented that it was an important part and seemed hard as well, but he didn't need to do that currently, as she was pulling his shirt to take him. He asked her to wait and said he wanted to talk to Toyo first. She questioned who Toyo was. Utsuka replied that he didn't want to work overtime, but he also didn't want to waste time by not getting any work done. Just then, Saot called Toyo. Toyo asked her what happened. She said that it seemed like Utsuka needed a break, so was it fine if they went for drinks? Toyo wondered about the combination of Utsuka and Saot and commented that it was a rare combination. She said that they had been getting along recently. Then Toyo asked if Utsuka wanted to go. Saot replied that there wasn't any doubt about that. Utsuka got to Saot and said that she didn't have to say such things. She replied that he had promised her. Toyo looked at them and allowed them to go. As they got to the drink shop while having a drink, Saot said that Utsuka was amazing, considering it was only his second year and he was trusted to do such important things. She also mentioned that he was pretty good at modeling, so she understood Toyo's decision. She sensed that he wasn't interested in talking to her, so she asked if she would be better off dead. He asked why she suddenly wished for death. She replied that it was because she felt bored with him. He told her that he was thinking about the model and whether he should consult with her or not. She suggested that he could talk to her and that he didn't have to worry since she used to do 3D as well. Then he said that the face of the model didn't feel correct, and he had adjusted it to match the proportion of the original illustration, down to millimeters. She commented that it was amazing and she thought he was good at making it look like the original. He said that others were saying it was their flagship product and that it just needed a bit more. Saot thought of a hole and asked him what he thinks he considers when creating a character. He answered that he considers whether that matches the specifications and resembles the original illustration, and also if that causes any issues with the data, and he thinks that was it. She commented that she knew what was missing. He questioned what that was. She replied that it was love. He didn't show any expression upon hearing that. She continued that she was being serious and that she poured love into the characters they created. He found their good points before they created them, liked how cool they were, how dignified they looked, or how beautiful their eyes were, and was conscious of making sure those good points came through, and that's how the things they created developed their unique charms. Adding love would increase the quality significantly, and that way, the customers would appreciate the product much more. Utsuka still didn't react, so she continued that when they talk about someone they love, they look at the good things, and that's the creepy analogy. She then apologized to him for giving such advice and making it sound creepy. He denied it and said that he would give that a try. Since his models always seemed stiff and lacked charm, as she pointed out, he would work on that. Then he commented that he was glad to take advice from her. She became emotional, happy that he listened to her and relied on her. He asked about her tears. She joked that she had shown him the bad side and he probably thought she was terrible. He denied that and said that he respected her. She asked if that was for real. He agreed and said that he had respected her since joining the company. The next day, as Utsuka was working, Toyo came to him and said that his model had improved and looked much lovelier than earlier. Utsuka replied that he got some advice from Saot. Toyo said that Saot was good at deep conversations when she was drunk and going for drinks was the right call. That's how he gradually absorbed the best qualities of others. Then he asked Utsuka if they were dating. Utsuka asked him to excuse him and said that there wasn't anything like that and she was his teacher. Toyo commented that it was a common trope. Utsuka said that Toyo was getting annoying, so Toyo apologized for that. As Saot had the sandwich, Utsuka came to her and giving some books, he said that those were the manga she had mentioned the day before. She thanked him for that and said that she had been looking forward to them. Utsuka pointed at the PC and asked what she had been looking at since earlier. She answered that it was a fan art of the company's game. Utsuka commented that it was so amazing. She started working, stating that it was the best, and even if they tried to avoid the keywords, she would find them. Utsuka looked at her work and asked if she was using Twitter. She denied that, and then Utsuka said that he thought she was a complete shut-in. She asked what happened to him, and he realized he was wrong. She was using the official account for the game. She mentioned that she was busy with her job and also didn't have many friends to connect with. On a different note, she handed him a card to look at. He said that it was a character he had made. She told him its name was Bestia and that it had been a smash hit. Utsuka commented that it seemed like she loved it. She agreed and said that she was so glad she had pitched the idea of having a cool and handsome character. He thought that she had some serious influence, and then he said that she had maxed them out, and that seemed impressive. She replied that she had different colored models, so she gave her all, spending around 9K, and that's the character she liked. The design with animation was too good, and it might seriously be one of her all-time favorites. She hadn't seen something so handsome and cool before. Utsuka thought that if they made something and people loved it a lot, that would give the makers so much happiness. He got to thinking and, pretending to scroll on his phone, wondered if maybe he should search for opinions every once in a while. He checked a lot of comments and saw that the person had some incredible enthusiasm. As he checked that person's profile, he realized it was Saot, but she had earlier told him she didn't use Twitter, so maybe that person was someone else. And then he saw another comment from the same person, so again, he wondered if it was Saot. After a while, he confirmed that it was indeed Saot and she was using Twitter. She even drew a picture of herself together with Haru, and maybe that's why it was awkward for her to admit she was using Twitter. And then he thought to follow her since she was pretty good at drawing. The next day, when she was having drinks with Utsuka, she appreciated what they had found the previous week and reminded him that they had also drunk together the day before. He agreed and mentioned that he had followed her on Twitter. She was surprised to hear that and, trembling, said that she had never heard of that. Utsuka said that maybe he got it wrong, but he was sure it was based on her outfit tweet. She just lowered her head and said that she wanted to die and how everything about her got exposed. He replied that she was like an open book. She mentioned that her account screamed otaku. Utsuka said that it still felt the same as her. She asked if that wasn't unfair, pointing out that he now knew everything about her, how she was a nudist, weak-willed, and creepy, and that's all the stuff she wanted to hide, which she found unfair. As he started to apologize, she said that she wanted to know all about him as well. He asked, like what? She replied that she meant all the things. Utsuka told her that his birthday was October 7th, and as he started to mention his blood group, she interrupted and slammed the table, saying that she didn't want to know that. She insisted that he should only tell her things that no one else knew. He wondered if those were the kinds of things she meant. She explained that she meant embarrassing things or secrets about him. He replied that he didn't have any. She was surprised to hear that and mentioned that she would just take a look at his account as well. As she started looking, she found that it was nothing normal. The section was full of dog videos, which she found unfair. He told her that she was the one who revealed her personal information. After work, as he was heading back on the metro, he checked her tweets and thought that she did tweet about everything, and he didn't think she tweeted anything embarrassing. Then he saw one of her tweets, so he liked it. Saot, at her home, felt so embarrassed that he had liked her tweet. The next day, she approached him and said that he was the only one she could ask a favor of. He asked what it was. She replied that she wanted him to come and meet one of her followers. He asked if he needed to come along. She agreed and said that they were the only online friends she was convinced about. They had talked online, but never met in person. Since she wanted to live in Tokyo, it would be a good opportunity for her to finally meet that person for the first time. Utsuka said that he didn't think there was a need for him to be there. She said that she got anxious when she was alone and wanted to meet that person, then suggested that she would treat him. He agreed to go with her. She then showed him a photo and said that he was art. On the day of the meeting, she dressed up nicely and told Utsuka that she had tried to look stylish that time. He complimented her, saying that she pulled it off. She replied that she had tried her best since it was their first meeting, and she would maintain her work mode attitude and thank him for taking care of her all this time. She asked Utsuka how it was. He replied, "Isn't that a bit late for a 6-year friendship?" Sao agreed with that, and just then a text came to her phone saying that the lady was there and she had purple hair. As they looked around, a lady approached calling out to Sao. Sao got flustered seeing a bold woman show up. The lady introduced herself as Negi. Utsuka gave his name and mentioned that he was tagging along, and then he introduced the girl with him as Sayot. Negi said it was nice to meet them and noticed that Sayot was hiding, so she asked the reason for it. She also complimented Sayot's hairstyle, saying it was cute. Sayot came forward and mentioned that she didn't dare to bleach her whole hair. Negi told them to drop the formal talk. They all had drinks together, and Negi mentioned that it was nice to meet Utsuka as well. Then she told Sayot that she had been wanting to meet her for a long time. She mentioned how she loved Sayot's arts and values, not to mention that they liked the same manga. Sayot said that it made her happy to hear that. Then Negi asked if she meant Sawtooth Man. Sayot confirmed that was what she was referring to. Utsuka thought that Sayot could handle herself just fine. The scene jumps ahead for 30 minutes, and both girls are getting aggressive. Negi said that Haru and Yamada were dating. On the other hand, Sayot claimed that she was dating Haru. Negi insisted that Sayot must have misread something. Sayot told her to just watch her back. Utsuka wondered if they would get along in the future. Negi mentioned that since Haru was looking at Yamada, it seemed real. Sayot excused herself and said that Haru wasn't into guys like that. He just liked to work, and that's it. Then they both asked Utsuka what he thought. He mentioned that didn't Haru have an unrequited love with a woman? Sayot told him to just shut his mouth. He tried to say something else, but Negi intervened, saying that she understood what he meant. Sayot suggested that maybe if they all got drunk, they could agree. They both called the waiter together and asked for a bunch of beers. After another 30 minutes, Utsuka got drunk and ended up sleeping with his head on the table. Sayot mentioned that he seemed to be sleepily drunk and that she usually didn't drink a lot. Negi remarked that the one she had been drinking with lately was Utsuka. Sayot agreed and said that they also hung out a lot over calls. Negi commented that it seemed like they were having a good time. Scott poked fun at Utsuka, saying that he wasn't waking up and his cheeks were so stretchy since he drank so much, which must be nice. She made a funny face and took photos. Then Negi asked Sayot if Utsuka was her boyfriend. Sayot denied it and said that he was just her friend. Negi asked why there was that distance and mentioned that often, such behavior could lead to misunderstandings and attract the wrong kind of people because of her clingy attitude. Sayot said that Utsuka wasn't like that and that he was a good guy. Negi said that she guessed that was fine and that she was worried about Sayot since she was a cute girl after all. Sayot was happy to hear that. Negi commented that Sayot was too easy, then asked Sayot how many boyfriends she had in the past. Sayot replied that it was around 5. Negi remarked that it was amazing that Sayot hadn't done that thing yet. Sayot felt embarrassed and mentioned that all of them were the same. Even though they started nice, they became aggressive, which scared her. Then they would get angry when she denied them. Negi apologized, saying she didn't mean to offend her and that she didn't want to deal with those bad situations, calling them all scumbags. Sayot agreed with Negi and said that maybe she was the problem. Negi disagreed, saying that Sayot wasn't the problem and that she was good. She just needed to be happy. Just as Utsuka was raising his head, looking shocked, Sayot asked if he had been listening. Utsuka said they were talking about Haru and Sayot dating. Negi was now shocked to hear that. Sayot laughed and told Utsuka that the power of alcohol was amazing and that he was a good guy. Negi said that she might be able to talk about otaku stuff all night and still think Utsuka was a good guy. Utsuka mentioned that Haru had an unrequited love. Negi jokingly said she would probably just kill Utsuka. Sayot told her that she couldn't do that. After all that, Sayot apologized to Utsuka and said that she couldn't go drinking for a while. Utsuka was cleaning the dishes and said that it was unusual. She said that there were new features per release and a lot of things to do. He asked about the art director. She said that she wanted to have a drink with him, but that couldn't be helped, and that week, she will succeed. He wished her good luck. A boy came by calling her and asked if could she come with him for a while. She agreed and took leave from Utsuka. After all that, he got to his house and thought of forgiving him, but that had been a while since he had some alone time, and he was so thankful. He wasn't comfortable with Sayot, but his personality required some alone time, and even Sayot wanted such time. And as he was playing games, his phone rang, and that was from Sayot. He picked up the phone, so she asked him to, let's get to drink. He asked her that just. She agreed and said that she could, she knew. But she apologized and said that she tried, but that wasn't good. He asked her if was she feeling down. She denied it and said that it was as usual she was saying, and then he got that she was crying, and she told him that it was fine. So she was crying by standing in a corner, and lots of people passed by there looking at her. Just Utsuka came and said that he was there. She just saw him and got to say that he was finally there. He told her not to get so sticky to him. She told that she needed a chat at that time, and she apologized to him for calling at such a time. Utsuka asked her what was going on. She replied that she made a mistake at work, but she was happy to just be with him like that. So let's talk about Sawman or something else. Utsuka asked her why didn't she just talk about her work and did she thought that he had come there to just talk about the manga. They both sat in the park, and she said that she had already developed a habit of packing her schedule with work and had a lot of work to do. Because of that, she forgot to check the important things, and she felt sorry for being such a pain to everyone in the team. She was sure that they all regretted leaving all things to her. Utsuka asked her if that happened often, and she seemed so busy. She said that it wasn't about the company, and she thought that she was bothering him as well. She had hoped he would go out with her and chat, but that didn't seem like he was having much fun with her, and she started feeling like he was forced by her to do so. He even mentioned that he felt the same way with her at the current time, and she didn't stop that. She wondered if she felt negative and if she was going to die soon. He asked her if she was always like that. She started crying again and said that she was so confined that she could do her job, but that made her make some mistakes. She even vented to her mouth, and she felt so ashamed of that. She started crying again and apologized to him. He told her that he had been calling her teacher, but lately he felt like she was younger than him. She heard those words and said that she was 4 years older than him. He commented that even if that's true, outside her nature, skills, and maturity seemed younger than him. She said that he was being mean all of a sudden. And she was still the older one, and she was almost in her 30s and wished that she could do better. He told her that age didn't have anything to do with that and asked if she was going to be cool about that. She stated that he thinks of her as a friend. He agreed and said that it was why he came there, and besides her, Nigi was living so far away, so Saot's only friend was him. She got emotional hearing that and said that she was so happy about him and she wanted to hug him so much. He asked her if could she stop being so creepy suddenly. She asked for the reason and she knew that he didn't like her. He replied that he didn't say something like that. She said that he was so much nicer to her earlier. The next day, she told him that she had an emotional breakdown the previous day, and she apologized, saying that she would go die so don't break up with her. He asked her to buy him dinner or something instead of dying. One day she asked him to go out for dinner. He asked why she asked suddenly. She said that she wanted to thank him for listening to her that day. Utsuka reminded that and said that it was fine that she didn't have to, and he always bought more whenever they went out for a drink. She denied it and said that they were going. He got to make excuses, but she said that she highly recommended they go to that place. He asked if she wanted to buy him dinner or just go there. The scene got to Saturday and they went to the restaurant. Utsuka commented that it was so fancy, the decorations were gorgeous, the menu was also in French. There were so many kinds of tea, and they seemed fancy as well. It was his first time coming to such a place. He then looked at her and asked if she felt awkward. She, with trembling words, said that she shouldn't be there. He asked if she didn't come there by her own choice. She replied that it was because that place was so fancy and she was so much of an otaku that she was polluting the air, and her presence there was taking down the quality of the reputation of the restaurant. And maybe she should have gotten back home. He told her that they hadn't eaten anything yet. Then a waiter came and asked what they were willing to order. Saot was surprised to see him there, and Utsuka thought that finally he would be able to eat. As they ordered, the afternoon tea set came to them. He thought that was the lunch. Saot was so excited to see that and said that it was so cute and amusing, and now she was feeling a bit good. He commented that it was good for her. She said that she always wanted to come eat lunch there, but she had to make a reservation for 2 people, and then she thanked him for coming there. He asked about lunch. She explained that it was the short form after the afternoon tea. He said that it was good, and even though he didn't know what that was, it was good. As he went to touch that, she stopped him and said, "Let's take a picture with that." She then showed me some stickers. He questioned what that was. She answered that it was Haru and Plushie, and they were always with her together whenever she went out, and he was so cute and matched with lunch. Otsuka wondered where that timidness from earlier went. He then got to have the tea, but she stopped and said that she also wanted to take his picture as well. He agreed to that, and she said that she was going to take the picture. She then clicked the picture, and he questioned why 2 shots. She questioned if he didn't like that. He denied that, and she told him not to worry. She would just change his picture to Haru and then make it look like she and Haru were on a date. He agreed with her doing so. She then said, "Let's take more pictures and make it feel a bit more like a date." He thought that she didn't have any sense of distance. She told him that she got some really good pictures and thanked him for that and suggested they eat. As she ate as well, she commented that it was so tasty and the macaron tasted like roses. Otsuka said that it was sakura flavored. Someone in the back was taking a couple's photo. Saot told Otsuka that she wondered what kind of tea Haru would like, and she knew what he was thinking. Then she asked him why there were a lot of well-dressed couples there. She became disappointed that she was the only otaku there and felt unworthy of being there. She apologized for being alive and wanted to die. She lowered her head, stating that she knew she shouldn't have come to such a fancy restaurant, as it was likely the favorite for couples, not for people like her. Otsuka asked her why she was so concerned about her surroundings, and all people cared about was the cake there. She apologized and said that she had a tendency to overthink things and that she was annoying and not good. He told her that he was going to eat while she was crying. She told him to stop and that the cute one was hers. He reminded her that she had said she was fine. They even took pictures together and they were acting like a couple as well. She blushed upon hearing that. He asked for the reason. She said that something like what he said surprised her, and she was so happy, but it didn't look that way. He replied that it was fine. She stated that she couldn't see that and she was a bit old for him. She was in her 30s and was with a young man, and what if people thought of her as the sugar mommy? He told her that she was so negative. She said that he was only 23 and so young. He told her that there was only a difference of 4 years. Just then, the waiter came with their bill. She was surprised and said that she was only Utsuka's friend and wasn't the sugar mommy. Utsuka told her to stop that. The waiter was confused to hear that. As they both walked, she asked him if he had also had lunch at the convenience store. He agreed, and she asked him if he wanted to go out for dinner. He replied that he was supposed to play PPLA with some peers that day. PPLA was a 4v4 shooting game and was booming among their peers. She wondered about that and said that they had played that last week as well and suggested playing it on Saturday and Sunday. He replied that he had other commitments on those days. She said that she would call him then. He replied that he was playing on his phone. She asked if the games were more important than her and if the games weren't more fun when played with her. He told her that she worked for a game company, but did she even know how to play that properly? He just got a call from his PPLA friend. She told him to just focus on her instead of the phone and asked why he was the only friend she had. He asked if she also wanted to play PPLA with him. She agreed with him. That night, they connected, and he asked about her experience of playing that. She admitted that she had bought the game but hadn't played much, but since she was good at games, it would be fine. He commented that it was good. She asked which weapons she should choose and mentioned that she played aggressively. He suggested using the short-range weapon and said that, other than that, their current loadout was good for them. She chose one and commented that it seemed cool. Utsuka mentioned that he was playing with the sniper, and then the game started, but they found that she got killed a lot of times, so they lost. They saw that she was killed 15 times and didn't have any kills. Utsuka said that he thought she was good. She replied that she was not good at shooting. He told her that she could do some moves. She apologized for that. He replied that it was fine and that she would get used to that and suggested they keep playing. And then she trained hard in that game by moving and shooting, but still, they lost. Utsuka said that it was like the first time, and he was A rank at that time while she was a D rank, and for V ranks the enemies were so good. Sayat mentioned that it meant they were bad compared to him, and dying meant she was holding him back, which made her start crying. He told her that it wasn't true. She said that she knew that it might not be fun playing with a new player like her. He thought that she might start thinking like that again. Then he said that maybe he should teach her a lot. She denied that, and then he asked for the reason. She replied that she wanted to enjoy the games by playing, and it must have been stressful for him, so she would play again when she was better, and then she left the game. The scene shifts to 3 days later, where Utsuka is buying some things. Saot came there and he noticed dark circles under her eyes, so he asked about that. She replied, "Let's play Pepla." He agreed with her. She suggested meeting up in the conference room with some form, and as she was going, she was shaking. Utsuka wondered what was wrong with her, and it seemed like she would collapse soon. As they started playing, he asked if she wanted to play PPLA. She agreed and urged him to start quickly. As they got connected, he noticed that she had changed her weapon and was shocked to see that her rank was SSS. He wondered how she achieved such a high rank in just 3 days and questioned if she had used any cheats. The game began, and she started killing players and even earned the MVP tag. Utsuka commented that she had become so good at playing in just 3 days. She laughed and said that she had worked hard because she wanted to play with him, then asked if he would play with her from then on. He agreed and said that he wanted to teach her more. He then asked if she wanted to play with everyone next time. She declined and expressed that she wanted to play with him only. He thought that from that day, she became addicted to the game, and eventually, they decided to play together. While he was working, she came and asked to play the games. One day, he saw her busy with work, and when he looked at her like that, she seemed like a very responsible person. After some time, he got closer and found her sleeping. He remarked that she looked terrible and asked if she wanted to play PPLA with him. She denied it and said that she had to finish unpacking for her move. He asked if she hadn't moved out some time ago. She replied that cleaning wasn't fun. He thought about the dignity she seemed to have before. She continued that it had been warm lately, and she didn't want to find any roaches coming from the cardboard, but she had to deal with it. He asked if anyone was helping her. She just stared at him. He asked if that was okay, and she said that she could give him 30,000 for that. Then he agreed to do it. She was happy to hear that. As they got to her room, they found that it was very dirty. She admitted that she knew. Utsuka asked if moving out made that much of a mess and why the room was so old and dirty. She agreed with that and said that she had work to do and wanted to play with him, so there was no way someone like her would have had the time to move out. He told her not to blame him and her job. She apologized to him. He suggested putting everything in boxes for the time being. She asked if he seemed tense. He said that messiness made him uncomfortable. She mentioned that his house looked so clean and maybe they should hang out there next time. He reached to touch her clothes, but she stopped him and said that she would clean that part by herself. He told her that he was surprised she asked him to help when it was like that, and he would clean that part by himself. Then he put the things in boxes and was able to see the floor. He suggested they open up some more cardboard boxes. He started packing the other things and wondered about the thing he had in his hand, then called her over. She wore something and asked him to just look at that. She told him that she bought that outfit for Halloween when she was still in college, and at the time she was too embarrassed to wear it. He wondered if she was going to clean anything up. She continued, saying that it would have been a waste to throw it away, so she decided to wear it. Then she asked him how it looked, and even though it was a bit tight, wasn't it good and how did it look? He replied that it was a little strange. She clarified that that wasn't what she meant and asked if she didn't look cute. He agreed that she looked cute. She continued, saying that it looked cute even when it was dirty and had a cleaning mode. He said that it was good. She then got to cleaning as well. He called her and asked about a book and if he could look at it. She just recommended that book, so he thanked her for that. She mentioned that he was also a character modeler, so that book could be good for him too. He said that there were a lot of books. She agreed and said that she wanted to get better at drawing and 3D modeling, and there was a time when he read a lot and he could have all of those books. He asked if she was sure. She said that she would find some more for him. She started opening the box and said that it was fine if they were for him. Just then, the back of her dress got broken and she got embarrassed by that. He gave her other clothes and said to just wear them. She thanked him. After that, he asked if she was a bit more relaxed. She smiled and said that maybe she was more comfortable with him. Utsuka said that he didn't know if that was a good or bad thing. She said that it was a good thing, and since they were friends, it wasn't a bare-bones relationship. He wondered about that and thought that it was okay, and she always seemed so tense. Then she mentioned wanting some ice cream and suggested they eat it. She went to buy some and change her clothes. He thought that he didn't know if that was a good idea. While they were in the office, she suggested playing Platoon that day. She asked if they had been playing it daily lately. She replied that it was because some new weapons had been added, and she wanted to try them all. Toyo called Sayot and found out that Utsuka was there as well. Sayot thanked him for his hard work. Toyo asked Sayot if they could discuss the shading RS of the model later and talk about it during the lunch break. She agreed and said she would leave her sign time for him. Toyo said he had heard that Moro got married and that he was Saot's colleague. Utsuka asked about Moro. Toyo told him that Moro was Saot's colleague from the consumer department, and Toyo's wife was also on that team, so that's how he heard. Utsuka was surprised to hear that Toyo was married to someone who was working in the same company. Toyo said he had been since he was around 30, and Utsuka never knew where they would meet someone. Sayot got something and said that she wanted to die. Then she and Utsuka went to the drinking area, and she mentioned that many people around her were getting married, and she didn't have a boyfriend as well. He asked if that was what they were talking about. Then he asked if she wanted to get married. She agreed and said that she didn't want to die alone. She wondered what she should do and couldn't believe that even her colleagues were getting married. She then drank more and said that she was fine. He asked if she was fine. She commented that if she kept thinking like that and feeling that way, she was going to end up becoming an old woman before she knew it. He said that she seemed to be in a hurry. She told him that she was so hungry and that she was 27 years old. He asked if that had anything to do with it. She thought that some people in her class already had their profiles set as having a baby, and that a lot of teachers in their company got married in their 30s. There was an anime she used to watch where the mom was younger than her but had kids. She then shouted that everyone was going to leave her behind, so she asked for help. Utsuka said that he didn't know what to say because he didn't understand such feelings. She said that it was true and he was still at the age of 23, which was so young. He commented that there was only a 4-year gap between them. She mentioned that 23 years of age was nice, but as time continued, she felt like she was getting old. Even after turning 27, she didn't feel good at all and needed to become more mature. He wondered what becoming an adult meant and what she was talking about. She told him not to be put off by her and that she was just trying to be herself in front of him, and he definitely shouldn't think that she was a kid. He apologized for saying too much. She reassured him that it was fine and that he was correct, and after all, he was more mature than her. She felt mentally weak, not so capable and selfish and disgusting. So who would fall in love with her? Would she be like that forever? He commented that it was fine and that she was the childish one, and that made her interesting. He admired her passion for her work and her amazing skills, and noted that she never lied and was honest. He then asked why she didn't try looking for someone to meet up with and just kept showing her real face until she met someone whom she found fine. She wondered if she would be able to find someone or not. Utsuka said that there were 8 billion humans in the world, so he could talk about the probability. She pondered globally and said that Utsuka was right, and that it's better to take action than to complain, so she would use dating apps. He agreed with that. She commented that she would try her best and just install them. He appreciated it and said that if she found a boyfriend, it would be better if she didn't meet up with him. She was shocked and asked for the reason. He mentioned that being friends with the opposite gender might be a hindrance to her, and he thought it would be awkward for her, though he wasn't sure. She then decided not to do that and said she didn't want to leave him. She had been searching for love for a long time, but currently, she didn't care. That's because whenever she was with him, she felt so happy, so she wanted to keep it that way. The next day, Toyo said that he heard Naka got married as well, and she was in such a rush. After that, Sayot cried again, and Utsuka thought that she would never change. After that, she said that she had worked overtime that day, so she couldn't go for a drink that day. He agreed and thanked her for the work of that day. She asked him how he had been so nonchalant. He questioned if he had been. She asked if he hadn't felt lonely without her. He replied in the negative. She asked if he hadn't for a second, and then she said to forget that and left from there. After work, Utsuka went outside and, while walking, he thought that he had been alone at the beginning and missed that feeling, and maybe he should see if anything good had opened up. He heard a lady shouting at someone big and asking for payment for the time they had spent together. Utsuka wondered how reckless that person was. As he looked, he realized it was Negi. The boy apologized to her and gave her some money. She shouted that it wasn't enough and that he should at least give 3,000 yen. They got into a conversation and Utsuka thought about getting away from there, but Negi had already seen him, so she called out to him. She grew calm towards him and asked how he had been, maybe tired. He replied that he had been fine. She then showed him her 3,000 money. He thought it seemed like she had robbed someone for that, and then asked if she hadn't gotten into a fight earlier. She explained that the boy had been a stubborn pickup artist and had started calling her ugly when she tried to ignore him. So, that money was her consolation, and such a beautiful woman took the time to get that much, living the sugar daddy life. Utsuka asked if that wasn't extortion. She told him to let's go and get some meat with that money. Utsuka insisted that it was fine, and she didn't have to worry about him. But she just grabbed him, and by taking his hand, she said that they two were going to eat a bunch of different meats. As they sat down to eat, he asked if she was from Osaka. She agreed and asked why people were standing on the left side of the escalator there, while the rest of the world stood on the right, suggesting they should make it the same. He replied that he didn't even know what to say about that. Then Negi asked if Saot was going to be there that day. Utsuka replied that Saot was doing overtime. Then Negi told him that she had played a lot with Saot.